Hello, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a copycat Popeyes chicken sandwich recipe. Let's get you a little closer look at that. One downside, it being gluten-free, is I am using some sad gluten-free bread. The recipe calls for a brioche bun. I don't have access to that. Potentially in the future, I have a recipe sitting in my to-do list of a brioche bun recipe that I can make myself. Potentially future video, but for now, sad gluten-free bread. This recipe does involve some deep frying. And with that, simple to do. A, have a thermometer because you need to know what temperature things are at. But B, safety. If a fire breaks out, do not put water on it. That'll just spread it around, smother it, or have a fire extinguisher on hand. Beyond that, I haven't had any issues deep frying in my history. Anytime I talk about it, I want to bring up the safety stuff because I want people to be safe and use some common sense. But yeah, it's easy to do just as long as you're smart about it. The other thing that I want to kind of point out in the intro bit is that this is a gluten-containing recipe that I've converted to being gluten-free just by swapping the flours out and obviously the bread as well. But the flour for something like this, where it's just like a coating, you can just do a one-for-one swap, easy peasy. Something like a cake or bread, things that need to rise and have kind of like a structure to them, you can't just do a one-for-one swap. It doesn't. The gluten has a structural component to it that a gluten-free flour would not provide. For those kind of recipes, you have to find like a specific one, but for something like this, you can just swap out. Same thing with like cookie recipes. You typically can just swap the flours and it's just as good. We are just swapping the flour out. So in the recipe that I link in the description, if you are making this and you can't have gluten, you know, like myself, just use whatever flour you use. I'm using King Arthur, but any flour should do the trick. And then obviously, if you can have gluten, just follow the recipe as is. Count your blessings because I miss it at times. I miss actual hamburger buns. So we're going to go through the like taste test and whatnot at the end, so stick around. But first we're going to run through the ingredients and then we'll get into cooking. Chicken, buttermilk, paprika, parsley, garlic, cayenne, salt, black pepper, flour, cornstarch, hot sauce, pickles, mayonnaise, and oil for frying. The first step is going to be to cut the chicken breasts in half, and then we're going to pound them flat. So just use a meat tenderizer, hit it a few times, you know, relieve some stress, but don't go too crazy. And then, you know, just kind of set those to the side. Now we're gonna make the marinade. So that's gonna be to, in a large bowl, mix together the buttermilk, the paprika, the garlic, salt, parsley, and then black pepper. Just whisk that all up. Now we're going to put the chicken into the marinade and then just like make sure that it's all kind of coated. So just give it a little bit of a mix, then put a lid on top, pop that in the fridge and let it marinate overnight. Next, we're going to make the spicy mayo. Super simple, just take some mayonnaise, hot sauce, paprika, mix it all up, spicy mayo. Next, we're going to make the like breading, so like the coating that's gonna go on the chicken, that's gonna give it that kind of crispy exterior when we put it into the deep fryer. And that's just mixed together in a bowl, the flour, the cornstarch, the paprika, the cayenne, the garlic, the salt, parsley, and black pepper. I think that's all of it. Just kind of mix that in a bowl and then drizzle in a little bit of the buttermilk and then stir that again. Now, hands are gonna get real dirty on this one. We're going to dredge each one of the chicken breasts from the marinade, put that into the flour, make sure everything's well coated, and then kind of set them on a wire rack, getting ready for the deep frying. Now, time for the fun part. We're going to put the chicken breasts into the fryer at 350 for about 4 minutes per each one. And we're going for like a golden brown, internal temperature of like 165. Gently put them in, don't want it to be splashing. And then just kind of hands off, let it go. And then ideally you have a spider that you can use to get it out so that all the oil drips off. And then put that on a wire rack to finish kind of dripping. And then finally, we're gonna put it all together. So I'm using my gluten-free bread here. You cover each side with the spicy mayo. Then you put some pickles on one, put the chicken on top, close up that sandwich. You're good to go. Now, the most important step, eating it. So let's give this a taste test and see how we did. So this is very tasty. I'm very happy with it. It is like tender, it's juicy. Like the chicken, definitely the marinating overnight is the move. Now you have options with that kind of marinating because it says 30 minutes to 24 hours. And any time that that situation kind of comes up, I lean towards the longer one just because that means more flavor is going to get into it. But it does kind of add a time element to the recipe, taking this from what potentially could be like a weeknight meal and making it a little bit more of like a weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of a meal. Using like the deep frying is more of what pushes it to a weekend for me, because a weeknight meal, you want it to be quick, like 30 minutes or less, but this is like 30 minutes of hands-on. The oil itself took probably like 20 something minutes just to heat up. And that's not a thing that I'd want to kind of turn on and then walk away from. So it wouldn't be like a good, like, oh, I got back from the gym, I'll turn that on, hop in the shower, get back out and check on like how things are going, because it could be a disaster that you're returning to. If you have weeknight, whatever stuff like that you can do in the kitchen, this could be a weeknight meal, but if not, probably do it on the weekend when you have a little bit more time, a little bit more flexibility, and then also marinate things for as much as possible. The other aspect of this is it tastes good, but it definitely feels like it could have a little bit more going on. So like the actual seasoning, like the herbs and spices in the the chicken coating, I feel like probably could be a little bit more, like add a little bit more in this, so I'm getting a little bit of that, more of that flavor coming through. And then also even like the spicy mayo feels like it could be a little bit spicier. Like I want a little bit of a kick in there, versus right now it doesn't really feel like it has much. And I actually added a little bit extra of the hot sauce. So maybe either a hotter hot sauce, maybe that was my issue, or just kind of add more, like maybe even like some like cayenne into the to the mayo mix along with like the paprika. Something to give that a little bit more of a kick, because I feel like some spiciness in there would be really good. Ooh, just thought of this. Maybe like a little like bed of coleslaw to put like the sandwich on. I feel like that would pair really well, because you get like a little bit of like that vinegar kick from the pickles, but I feel like having some like coleslaw in there would give it a nice kind of like crisp flavor, but then also a little bit more of that acid. Great recipe as is, but definitely I feel like there's some areas that it could be improved on, which is not to say like the recipe's bad. I just want to make that clear. Very good recipe, would definitely make it as is again, but I feel like it could easily be elevated a little bit more by just doing a few different things. And then finally, this is actually reheated. So like I did all the deep frying last night. I had one of the sandwiches then too, also like really delicious. The way I reheated it was almost as good as it coming fresh out of the oil. The method that I did was I popped it in the microwave for like a minute, and then I put it in the oven at 400 for 15 minutes on a kind of wire rack so that it had like airflow going around it. Now online, it does say you can also do like an air fryer. I just don't have one of those. Or you could re-deep fry it, but I did not feel like reheating all of my oil just for one sandwich. So I was like, okay, I can do the microwave and the oven while kind of prepping everything here. So that's the method that I went down, and it's quite good. So it's not a super quick method, because if you just did the microwave, the kind of out like exterior coating will be a little soggy. So the oven kind of re-crisps the outside while the microwave is doing more like the internal heating. A very reheatable meal. It wouldn't be like a take to the office kind of a meal. It would be an at-home reheat, but very good. Very happy with this. I hope you give this recipe a go, and I will definitely be making this many more times in the future. This is a very good recipe, so I hope that you make it. And on that note, bye mom, still not dead. See ya.